Well, welcome back into the mid-Norfolk garden here, and we're now approaching the middle of August, and there's a little feel of autumn already in the air, particularly this morning when you come out. It's going to be a beautiful 23 to 24 degrees here in Norfolk, but there's that slight chill in the air that you get as the nights start extending towards September. It won't actually be long before we're picking some of these blackberries, already starting to show some colour despite there still being some flower on some of these plants. We let these grow in this little area with the climbing rose that comes over the back here, so it's a pretty inhospitable area to get in and prune. Between the rose and the blackberry, tend to let this area just run to a little bit of wildness, particularly in autumn. It's quite a nice area to just come and pick some blackberries. And we still plenty of flower in the garden. A lot of these autumn flowering herbaceous plants are doing really well. One you don't often see is mint. This is a soft fur-leaved apple mint that's made its way through this rose to grow around 4 feet and put up this rather pretty, if subtle, purple mauvey flower spike, which the hoverflies are enjoying this year. I love the way this Crocosmia Fire glows, just catching the morning sunlight. It's planted in an area of quite dark shade, and it's only at this time of year, as the sun comes up from the east, that it picks out this beautiful spray. Almost finished now. Majority of it's already set seed at the back here. Planting this against such a dark emerald green backdrop really makes it pop. The agapanthus on the south face of the house this time last year had absolutely no flower on it at all, but this year we've been rewarded with our patience by these beautiful great big sprays of pale blue flowers. I'm also starting to get some second flushes from the roses. This is partly a consequence of the deadheading that Kate does regularly in this garden, and if you can keep on top of the deadheading, then you're rewarded by these secondary growths later in the summer, and they should continue flowering now right the way through to September and beyond. If we deadhead a further time, we should get this flowering some years right the way through to the first frosts in October. I'm still busy tidying up these geranium pots that have been growing outside by the old pool over the summer. We're bringing these now into the conservatory and watering and feeding them to get them to give us a hopeful big flush of colour as they hit the warmth in the conservatory over the next couple of weeks. Should really give them the conditions that these plants thrive in. The last of the hollyhocks flowers at the very terminal ends of the flower stems, still flowering away, plenty of seed coming on those. These Japanese anemones are now the highlight in this border, still in shade as the sun rises from the east. This wall's facing southwest, and they won't get the sun until later in the day here, but they're still bright enough to really be giving a splash of colour against the red brick wall. Got more agapanthus coming up here on the base of this south-facing wall, still in dark shade because of the trees to my right. These are growing up through what were a lovely clump of iris earlier in the season. That's getting quite densely planted now and really could do with digging up, dividing and spreading out to reinvigorate those plants. But the agapanthus like the crowded conditions, and if anything tend to flower better if their roots are tight in. And I'm just going to end by showing you these rather impressive flowering. I think these are cardoons, I'm not certain. They were bought as globe artichoke plants, but clearly aren't. They're giving us this magnificent architectural structure just behind the rhubarb patch with these beautiful purple architectural flowers held at around 10 feet. And they've stood very well despite the rain and wind that we've had here. It's quite a sheltered little area in the vegetable patch here behind my raspberry canes, and the bees are really loving these plants this year. They should continue to flower another few weeks yet.